Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. And thank you for joining us as we progress here into the round of 8 playoffs in the ULoL Campus Series 2017. My name is Octavian, and I am joined here on the mic by Rapid Casting, who's going to be doing a little bit of color commentary for me, and I'm highly appreciative to it. And let's get right down to it. We've got some bands already coming through. We are on to the 5th one so far, and there's only 6, so let's cut into them before they're all gone.
Yeah, almost more important than the bands here tonight, Octavian, are the teams that you are witnessing tonight. Robert Morris University comes into this game not only the favorites to win, but maybe even favorites to win the entire tournament. RMU have been looking insanely strong this split. So really, the question for me is whether or not GVSU is going to be able to handle what's coming their way. So bands are going to be Camille, Ari, and Malzahar. Been seeing more Ari in competitive play lately, CSL and LCS included. And of course, on the other side, Rumble just banning that away from West Coast Carry. Never going to let him have that champion. And of course, the Quest Bros, Rengar and Kha'Zix.
Graves will be the first pick here. A bit of focus towards that jungle, especially with the other two top tier junglers taken out of the pool. And Shen and Lulu to follow it up makes for a pretty durable combination already on the side of GVSU. What do you think RMU might go with here next, Rapid?
Well, for RMU, I would expect to see just like standard picks across the board. The Graves pick is most likely to combo with an aggressive top laner. We've been seeing a lot of Renekton, which definitely would fit West Coast Carry's playstyle, but it looks like in lieu of that, we'll be bringing out the Kled.
Certainly an aggressive top laner, as you mentioned. Maybe not quite as standard, though, as you were anticipating. Ezreal, meanwhile, for Pomi is certainly a bit more of a standard pick, growing more into his own in the current meta. And we'll see what that is matched by as the next two picks swap over to GVSU, maybe looking to fill out even more tankiness and durability for this composition that already has quite a bit to offer.
Yeah, that is certainly true. If you do build this tanky enough, things like Ezreal will just kind of tickle and poke at the outside. Guys like Kled will not really be able to find targets to just sit on and deal a ton of damage to. And even Graves might not have the amount of damage that he needs. And especially with a remarkably high AD team shaping up here for RMU, just building a bunch of armor stacking super tanks sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, potentially quite strong, though we're seeing quite a bit of deliberation. The new Lucian, just buffed on this patch, will be taken to face off against that Ezreal, and Elise in to do what he can in the jungle versus Mordio's Graves. Not quite as tanky as perhaps we were anticipating, but still very strong. We can talk about some of the matchups now as they are beginning to materialize. How do you feel about the Kled v Shen top, though? Because Kled is certainly an interesting pick.
That is certainly true. I don't see it a lot, but we have been seeing it more often. We just got to see an incredibly strong carry Kled performance in this exact same situation by Zig on Phoenix 1 earlier on. I think it was yesterday as they took on FlyQuest. It was a boppening. So really, really strong performance there. However, the series right before that, we saw what it looks like when Kled does absolutely nothing. So really a dynamic number or amount of performances coming out of that champion. I mean, it's really just going to be up to West Coast Carry, who I think should have the heads up in this matchup. And closing things out with an Orianna and a Karma, that's actually really interesting because that is going to make their team composition very, very mobile. And with double shields bringing out there, that could actually give them the defenses that they need to sustain a lot of this AD heavy team comps damage.
Yeah, as well as that with distortion, with the speed buff that Orianna will be giving the team, as well as Karma's Inspire, and of course Kled's Charge with multiple A's, they're going to have quite the engage on their hands. A lot of tools in that department, but Katarina will be the final pick here. That is really interesting.
Wow. Okay, see, you know what Katarina likes to do, Octavian? She likes to kill people.
Yes,
You know what stops you from killing people? Huge shields. And gotta say, with Orianna and Karma on the other side, this could be a difficult quest for Katarina to achieve. I mean, you're going to see a Locket of the Iron Solari this game. You're going to see Mantra Defiance. You're going to see Command Protect all over everything. And not to mention that Skarl, Kled's mount, is actually invincible. It's going to keep being there, coming back, and providing him with a lot of extra health too. So, I mean, QXQ is going to have to find somewhere to get those resets. I'm going to guess it's going to be most likely Palmy's Ezreal, but it's going to be a difficult task.
Indeed it is. He does have a good amount of backup in the form, perhaps, of a Shen Shield or a Lulu ulti, but we'll see exactly how that plays out once we get in onto the Rift. We've got a few minutes before we're there. I am going to take that time, however, to give a brief shout-out to our sponsors. Folks, first though, I'd like to mention that we are currently hiring here at the C Star League. If you consider yourself viable, I suppose, for the position of social media manager, then head on over to C Star League and see if you'd like to be our very own social media manager. We do have a position open there. Getting to our sponsors pretty quick here, though, we've got Band Gaming first on the list. They are a social app and the primary social app of the Collegiate Star League. They've got features such as creating groups, boards, calendar functions, polls, chats, and call functionality even as of recent. You can use them and their wonderful array of tools to get your friends together for a game night, be it League of Legends, anything really that you may need to accomplish. Twitch.tv is our next sponsor here, and you should be rather familiar with them given that you're listening to my voice right now across their wonderful streaming platform. They've been our sponsor for quite a while and hopefully will continue to be going forward. And speaking of going forward, the final one on the list here is Asus, who are purveyors of all fine things esports and can help you build that monstrous rig to get you the victories you need to climb up in rating. If you need a graphics card, motherboard, router, mouse, keyboard, laptop, anything really you could possibly need, you can find from Asus. My name is Octavian. I am joined here by Rapid. I've still got about a minute and a half before we get into the game, so we're going to cut to a quick commercial and musical interlude and be right back with you once we've got some action. Sorry to cut off the music so abruptly, folks, but we've got gameplay on our hands, and this is what we are here to bear witness to. My name is Octavian, I will be bearing witness alongside my co-caster here, Rapid Casting, and we've got RMU, the Titans of the ULoL Campus Series, facing off against Grand Valley, who may not be sitting at Titan status, perhaps not number one seed in the really whole thing here in the round of 8, but are still a potent team in and of themselves, and in fact have not dropped a series yet. Both of these teams are coming in here with a very, very clean record. We'll see whose gets scratched up.
Yeah, I think it definitely should be noted that even though Grand Valley is 5-0, their opponents really not on the same caliber as the teams that Robert Morris have been facing off against. RMU have really always been contenders, even from their grand finals appearance last season. DreamHack Austin in the CSL finals. This team, however, really just represented by a lot of just all-star talent. West Coast Carry has been with RMU for as longer than I can remember. And really want to give a big shout out to my boy Evan R.L., who has also been a big forerunner in the RMU success train for as long as they have been doing so well. So really, really excited to see what RMU can do. And it looks like we're not going to be starting out with anything too crazy. Just going to get our jungle on, with junglers starting on opposite sides of the map.
Yeah, Mordio going to be doing that ever-growing in popularity start of going for the Raptor camps early, as Pomi actually grabs some aggro on the minion wave there and starts to shove out as quickly as possible. Looks like Pomi and Evan Arel want to gain a level advantage down here. And maybe we'll be able to as we settle into the laning phase.
Yeah, and no really big surprises from the way the lanes are shaking out, from the jungle pathing. I mean, Kled versus Shen is going to be Kled beating up on Shen for the majority of the lane phase, and then Shen trying to out-tank his opponent, which should be relatively easy due to Doran's shield combined with Ninja Tabby, and then mixing up Sunfire Cape on top of that. So really, the burden falls to West Coast Carry to be able to play that lane aggressively and get to his Black Cleaver quickly enough. And on the other side, to the junglers to try to really get that matchup snowballing in one way or another.
A quick eye to the bottom lane as we see Evan RL roaming out of lane to get some deep vision around the enemy Gromp camp. That's actually going to spot out Schnellrun just as he's sort of finishing up his early jungle clear. Valuable information to RMU already. Doesn't look like they'll do anything too aggressive with that, but it does mean that West Coast Carry can continue to play incredibly far up this lane. He knows he's in no danger. As QXQ.
Oh.
Shunpo's back out of there, gets the reset off of the dagger, but still takes a nasty trade.
I was going to say, you can't reset his health bar, Octavian. That is not the way things work.
He does have the refillable potion, 1 charge left on that, so he'll get a little bit back, but that information, perhaps even from the ward, giving Mordio the impetus to charge into the enemy topside jungle, who steals away a Raptor camp. As West Coast Carry continues to dominate.
Yeah, jungler on jungler action pushes Schnell out of his own jungle, which is interesting because that's that's German for go. So he is going to go out of his jungle while Mordio heading up to the top lane to steal away a little bit of Krugs, but Lee Sin right there to try to stop it.
And all of this is snowballing to some extent off of that vision control they have on the bottom side, but Mordio may have bit off a little bit more than he could chew. A flash into the bush does break vision, as well as avoiding the taunt. There's a flash away from the Lee Sin, but Mordio with the red buff may yet be able to chase this down. Safeguard is not enough. It's first blood to the man with no cigar.
That is very true. Mordio should be noted, good job following up for the last auto attack to pick up the kill. He'd already used his flash previously, but just really, really great placement. You do not...
Speaking of great plays, not a lot of time to cast it happening, but the flash forward Thunderlord's proc coming up huge too. Bipings gets a solo kill.
Oh, Octavian! That was like a magical smoting from on high. That I almost didn't even see the Orianna auto attack, and when it hit, just like the magical thunderbolt. Thunderbolts, lightning, very, very frightening, Octavian. It's gonna be a second kill of the game for RMU.
And I can appreciate any action that allows for a Bohemian Rhapsody reference. Meanwhile, we have action potentially in the bottom side. Nasty dashing forward. Does have those slightly cleaner Lucian animations now, but Exhaust's traded back and forth, and he's not coming out on top here so far. The heal coming down. Evan RL a little bit low. He's actually going to flash forward and go down to the auto attack, sitting in a piercing light. Glitter Lance onto Pomi. Quick Game may be able to chase down a second kill here. There's a double for the Lulu.
Okay, Pomi just got bopped on a little bit. Not respecting the Lulu damage. Lulu's a very high damage support, especially when you just let her sit there and keep whacking on you with those auto attacks. And I mean, that's pretty much all we just saw there. Is Quick Game 3-2-1 just stood there, was auto attacking. He's like, all right, just gonna keep auto attacking, just gonna keep auto attacking, and then 2 kills later, he is the sole survivor of his lane.
Yeah, picks MVP of that 2v2, but the 2 kills did go over to the support. A little bit of early golden of support means potential vision control going back to Grand Valley, as they haven't had early signs of life in that department, but we'll see whether or not they can make up for that.
All right. Just want to clarify the audio issues, see if they're still there. If not, no, we'll do our best to see if we can get those straightened out. But for now, I am much like this game. I also have been a little sick this week, so I is still coming off the recovery on that. But more than happy to get a chance to witness a spectacle of this caliber, and we're already starting to see it heat up. RMU, you really can't root against these guys in too many matchups, and continuing to illustrate why with 2 kills already. And 3 kills, actually, correction.
And quite a lot of pressure now on the bottom side, as that seems to be the focus here for this team. At least this game, even with the duo kill going down, they're still shoving that lane up. They're still looking to push for vision, and you can see that Mordio is trying to take advantage of that as well, heading into the enemy jungle, even just popping the Scryer's Bloom. Bipink's continuing to shove as well. It's just a trend for RMU. Every single one of their lanes is pushed up.
Yeah, and really you can see exactly what they're getting off of that. They have vision on the enemy jungler, so they know where
flash forward. Homie almost going down, but he does manage to get out by the skin of his teeth and by the dint of his summoners.
That is certainly true. West Coast Carry is going to get some melee damage off on a Noobs R Us and continue to dash back in. Once again, all based on knowing where Schnell is. So RMU really abusing the fact that they have that information on GVSU's jungler.
And it has been hugely impactful for RMU. Even if the gold lead isn't too large and the kill lead hasn't yet blossomed, they are still just so very set up to take advantage of any mistakes that GVSU happen to make. And in the meantime, are shoving these lanes up and getting some creep leads for themselves. Schnell Run, maybe the one to make that mistake, trying to steal away a red buff, is going to get snared up by Evan RL, who's doing some good damage himself and safeguards over the wall just to find a mid laner waiting. Mordio, though, caught in the back of the Dragon Pit, will go down. 2-man Shockwave. The Dragon adding quite a bit of damage as well, actually, to this fight. Culling going to be landing a few shots into Bipinks as the Dragon continues to toss shot after shot in. Nasty chased away. Or maybe not. Dashing back in by Pinks goes down. QXQ claims 1.
Wow. I just gonna say, I was a little bit skeptical earlier on, Octavian, about the performance of Katarina against this RMU team composition. But hey, 2 kills speak for themselves, and well on its way to getting the Omnivamp from that Gunblade coming out, which is of course the reason you go AD Katarina early on. Because it helps you with your last setting in lane, and your scaling's a little bit better in that regard too. So we'll still probably see an AAP focus, but kind of interesting to see the way that has evolved over time.
Yeah, and a rare overstep for Mordio, who was caught out in the back of that Dragon Pit. Kind of went down without any sort of impact in that fight. A little unfortunate for RMU, who have had decent control of this game so far, but have definitely made some missteps. Still playing very aggressively, though, and not really allowing them to get into their mind, not really allowing the missteps to have them falter. They seem to have a game plan, and they seem to be sticking to it.
Okay, there we go. Apologies, just trying to fix a few audio issues. But while I'm working on that, we do see a little bit of a rotation here for quick game 3-2-1. Who's going to be joined by his jungler here to try to catch out Bipinks.
And there's a teleporting Shen coming in behind this fight as well. Schnellrun's going to get pulled back, though, and Mordio with the collateral damage does quite a bit of damage. It's there in the name, folks. However, Lucian going to go down into 1-1 so far. Mordio falls. QXQ getting the resets. He pulled off a double. This Katarina may be huge for GVSU, as it's starting to pull pretty damn far ahead. That's a 4-1 Katarina at 10 minutes, and that is something to be reckoned with.
Wow, certainly is, Octavian, and with these kills starting to stack up, I mean, really, anytime a Katarina gets out of control...
Charging into the fight, he is 1v2 at the moment, but still nearly takes down the mid laner.
Yeah, a couple of auto attacks away. That was actually really good. But in the meantime, no attention being paid to this dragon. And that is going to be an Inferno Drake, which is really just going to be so important to getting Katarina off the ground.
Yeah, the Inferno Drake does go over to the Lee Sin, Smite securing that. However, this could be disaster off the backside, as already one has fallen, and M Nasty with the exhaust on him doesn't have anywhere really to run, and thus has to flash. Gonna be some summoners and a kill traded back for the Drake. I think the Infernal Drake is actually worth that, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely worth trading the life of your jungler, especially when you have either Snowball or aggressive champions on your roster. The more Inferno Drakes you have, even if it's not valuable now, it eventually will be worth it. So no worries. Now QXQ going in, gonna get the Shen ult.
Yeah, has the benefit of that Stand United. There's the Death Lotus by Pink's beautifully dodging away from the taunt. Is going to kite into the enemy jungle. He's deep in no man's land now. He's getting flanked on by the Lee Sin. He's done a great job of kiting this one out, but it will all end in tragedy.
Yikes. Yeah, actually did a great job of timing his command shockwave right when the blast fruit went off, so he was able to, or the blast cone, he was able to cancel that knockback and really try to escape. And he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your Lee Sins.
Oh, man. Yeah, but you can still just see how far RMU is playing this game to the hilt. We're 6-7 in kills. These fights have been messy. A Volcanic Drake probably making up at least some of that gold deficit you can see there in terms of just raw power. But RMU still have every lane pushed up almost all the time. They're only shoved down to this outer turret down here because Evan RL and Pomi weren't in the lane for a little bit. We'll see whether or not that's enough to carry them through some of these messy fights, because they certainly haven't been the cleanest I've ever seen, especially not from RMU.
Yeah, I gotta give some credit where credit is due. RMU's duo lane hitting some struggles here and there, or GVSU's duo lane. I mean, 2-0 Lulu is pretty cool and everything, but gotta get that Lucian up where he needs to be. On the other side, here comes West Coast Carry down to the bottom half of the map.
Ulti. There's the charge through the turret, and M Nasty is so very dead.
Yikes! That is how many ultimates used? Maybe 3, 2.
At the very minimum,
3.
2. There may have been a Graves ult. Yeah, Graves ulti is down. So 3 as collateral damage flew across the fight as well. Lulu did pop the Wild Growth, tried in vain to keep this Lucian alive, but it simply was not to be. And that is the power that I mentioned during the draft phase. They've got such strong engage between just Kled and Karma alone.
Well, for the time being, yeah, that synergy used to get that 1 kill. And you might say, well, isn't that a lot to invest for just killing 1 champion? Well, yeah, but it's not even just about the kill. It's what you do with it. And able to just get a turret by picking off 1 champion, hey, sounds good to me. And that's going to be not only the first, but the second turret of the game. Going RMU's way, we've seen some teams, Octavian, really just struggle to just take their first turret in the face of overwhelming odds. And now it's RMU, who, even though they do have their own difficulties to work with, like a 4-1 Katarina, they're still working around it, getting elsewhere on the map to find advantages.
As West Coast Carry sits around in a tri-bush, trying to find some sort of ambush, as M Nasty is his target. And my god, West Coast Carry can certainly handle the 1v1, but he may not be able to handle the 1v2. The taunt from Noob Zaros, and M Nasty had some ninja waiting in the wings. A good dose of it.
Yeah, you always have to watch out for what is waiting there, right there waiting for you. Now Mordio.
Yeah, Mordio playing a bit more aggressive in the enemy jungle, but he gets his shield away out. Now QXQ is unstoppable and a moniker well earned. 5-1. This guy has been so very opportunistic, picking off kills here and there, and that's exactly what you want to do on Katarina.
Man, I'm just wondering why QXQ even takes Flash. He's got so many shunt posts, able to get in, get the kills, and get out. Splash still intact, and now it's GVSU's turn to push up.
Yeah, they may not be able to quite get this tower down, though, as there are still 3 standing from RMU to defend it. But meanwhile, on the bottom side, M Nasty's doing some work of his own. And even if the mid-outer doesn't fall, it looks like an outer turret will go down.
Well, there is the bottom turret getting taken out. So turret on the board there. GVSU having taken down their second global objective of the game, having taken that Inferno Drake earlier. And really, I mean, they are down a little bit in gold. They were down way more, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, even that has pretty much evened up. So if you just compare the lanes, top lane looking like more of an RMU style lane, mid lane, of course, pretty good there for Katarina. But the thing about Katarina is that, I mean, Exhaust is a great summoner spell. There's lots of ways to stop or mitigate her damage. So you really still have to play with the rest of your team, even if you are very far ahead.
And one of the things that worries me perhaps a little bit about GVSU's composition, even as they do pull back into this game and show resilience, is that they don't really have great engage to start making fights of their own. They've responded very well to aggression by RMU a good few times now. But I don't know how the game's going to progress once they need to be making these aggressive moves.
Ooh, Mordio walking forward. He's going to take Elysian back with it.
Yash no run follows him gladly, and the Dragon's Rage plus 1 auto on the way out is more than enough to claim the kill. Flash over the wall from Quick Game as wasn't quite standing on that last counter. And we got a
tank on tank action up here.
Yeah, maybe they don't really need to make any aggressive plays themselves if they can just keep answering these overextensions from RMU.
Wow. I mean, honestly, Octavian, this is what great team play looks like, where you know exactly where you need to be. Nice dash out of the command shockwave there in the mid lane.
Yeah, very well done.
Not only where you need to be for you, but where you need to be to help your team out. And I mean, that's how you play a good Katarina, is you always know where the opportunity is to fight, where you have either numbers in your favor or you can get a great angle on setting up for those resets.
And we've got to take this back to minute 1. When we were just getting onto the rip, we said RMU is the first seed here in our round of 8, in our playoffs in general. And any team doing well against RMU is doing incredibly well, because these guys are not easy contenders to deal with, as West Coast Carrier is going to be charging the back lines there, but they've got defensive tools to keep their team alive as Clay charges into the back. But Katarina will go down, and that is a lot of the gold for the side of GVSU, but they're not going to give up hope just yet. M Nasty will take on the mantle of carry for this fight, but they've still got to play around the Orianna. A lot of good damage onto that Lucian. It looks like it's a 1-to-1 trade, as both teams will back away, health bars blinking.
Ooh, bad coordination there. I mean, it's killing off the Fed Katarina. Getting that bounty for your team is great, but for RMU, they lose their jungler and take low health bars on their top laner, whereas there are a lot of blinking health bars, but only that one casualty. Okay,
2 spells,
I take
all
it
took.
back.
And even off that fight, RMU got priority in the mid lane, so they did manage to make some good things happen with that fairly bloody skirmish. 3-1 now in turrets. It has been the one metric where they've consistently held ahead this whole game, and it may very well be the metric that makes the most difference.
Oh my god, that Orianna damage surprises me every time. I really been impressed by Pinks this game, who has not only just found great ways to 1v1 his lane opponent, who is the strongest champion in the game right now. Maybe not 1v1, but if you look at the kill score and the gold amount, that is way up there. And Pinks has just been totally okay with that matchup, handling his business there. And you know, I always get a little bit frustrated in my games, Octavian, when maybe I win my lane, but another lane loses really hard, and then that totally undoes my advantage.
Few important cooldowns traded back and forth. Well, actually, no, just one. Mordio's ulti's down, and QXQ's looking to take advantage of that. The exhaust, though, is going to shut him out, as well as Evan RL chasing him with that snare, but Lulu is there. Keep him alive. Wild growth on the Katarina. A great target for Quick Game. And now maybe GVSU can turn this one around if they can just find a target, but there's a teleporting Kled coming into the middle of this fray, and they've got to back away if they want to keep this going.
Don't think they should keep this going necessarily. Mordio pretty low health, so for all intents and purposes, that would be a 4 on 5, 4 on 4, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, exactly like you said, the catches here are really starting to mount up. Well, you didn't say exactly that, but I think that's where you were going. I mean, you just look at the score. You look at the score, and that may possibly be the number that RMU need to call to pick up a win here.
Oh, I get it. I get it. Good one. Good one. That was a solid A little bit of wordplay there, Rapid.
Well, interestingly enough, yeah, did you know, since I'm over here in Korea, I had to learn the emergency number you dial here. You know what the emergency number in Korea is?
I can't say I do, no.
It's that backwards. It's 119. So, yeah.
Today,
turns out you just have to dial it in reverse.
Well, today probably most people learned. I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat knew that already. We'll see where the next explosive spark is, though, getting back to the game at hand, because GVSU have done a great job of responding to RMU's aggressive play. But I don't feel like we've seen them make any big decisions of their own, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They've got a great responsive comp. They've got a composition that can defend itself really well and then turn back around and clean up fights with a Katarina.
Well, it is about that cleanup, Octavian. We were actually talking earlier about relative strengths, and for Katarina, her strength comes from being there with the team in those setup opportunities. Maybe finding a nice pick or the element of surprise. But a big 5-man team that's all clumped together doesn't look at a Katarina and think, oh no, we're all gonna die. They think, oh, if she jumps in the middle of us, we're just gonna kill her. So QXQ has been doing a good job about picking his moments, about when to go in and when to stay out of there, but might need to revisit that a little bit more carefully as the game draws later. Getting picked off or not being able to find those resets matters more and more.
And an emphasis on vision control on the top side here from RMU as Baron becomes more and more of a realistic threat. These teams accelerating the pace of the game fiercely. And it will be around this vision control that someone eventually loses their life, I imagine. As RMU is not willing to back off. Shove out a lane in the mid. And see where that spark lands.
Yeah, keeping an eye on everything, and at least for the meantime, not having to worry about too much is RMU, who have really stabilized things. They've gotten all of their lanes really exactly where they want. Kled has everything he needs to be able to fight against Noobzarus' Shen. You can just see him going in there, totally unafraid. Might need a little bit of extra ward coverage, but I mean, as we can see omnisciently, there's not really a whole lot headed his way. So, bottom lane should be going well for RMU, grouping up and not wanting to pick too many fights, just continue to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, and you mentioned that ward coverage. It would be a valuable thing for the Kled, and I agree with you, certainly having like a backwards ward like he just placed in the enemy jungle to anticipate.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Coming around behind him would be great. But in addition to that, his team is kind of doing that job for him because they have such extensive control and have had such extensive control of the top side of the map that they know whenever someone isn't up there. And there's only 2 halves to the map, so if they're not on the top side, they're probably going bottom, and that's when we see the Kled back out.
Kled picking on the scuttle crab there. He's going to tether it down. I'm like, dude, you could catch up to it anyway. You don't need to tether it like that. But he'll take it out and now actually start a solo attempt here on the dragon. Of course, going to be getting Mordio's help there to come in and secure actually the first Drake of the game for Robert Morris University.
And the only thing traded back for that is sort of temporary control of the Baron pit, as you can see. That GD did at least use that opportunity to dive into the river and darken it a little bit for the side of RMU. As Noobzarus, I don't think he can handle this 1v1, but it looks like he thinks better of it, actually. He's going to be chasing after Kled here.
Yeah, West Coast Carry really only running for the majority of that fight because he knows that there's potential of teams coming to help Noobzarus out.
Here, he does manage to get Skarl back. Bear Trap and Rope are going to be pulling Noobzarus into the fight. However, Noobzarus is more than willing to continue to duke it out as he lands the taunt, and there's Kled ulti used defensively. Never a good sign. Speaking of ultis, Shen towards the top side, no more Kled to keep him from joining this fight. Evan RL going to be chased away. He has to flash backwards. It's the first kill for QXQ. The exhaust not going to be saving that support's life as a safeguard forward into a resonating strike finishes off that Graves. And that was some beautiful, just heads up cross-map play from Grand Valor.
Yeah, and really the opposite there for RMU, overextending without the resources that they needed. West Coast Carry was just not there, and Noobzarus really rejoining the fight, now giving GVSU the opportunity to start this Baron.
And that is the first real aggressive play we've seen from them the whole game, and look at how well it turned out for them. They may be able to get this Baron off the back of it, but it is still risky. There's a two-man shockwave, but it is secured by Lee Sin, and that is the most important thing in any Baron fight, and they still haven't actually lost a member. They've got Blink and health bars all over the place, but they're the one chasing down a kill. West Coast Carry will fall, and RMU, the Golden Gods, look vulnerable. They can bleed.
I mean, RMU's still up in gold, but down this Baron and losing these fights, starting to really make some question marks go off in my brain. I don't know, Octavian. This is not the way that you close out a game. It's not about getting an advantage. It's about what you do with this. Like I said, all the time, and RMU starting to fall behind, really just not getting enough out of where they used to be ahead.
Yeah, they seem to have a real game plan for the early game. They got solid vision control on the bottom side. They made some good plays around that. But then when they started getting stymied in that attempted advantage, when the enemy team read them and reacted correctly, they didn't have a backup. They didn't have a plan B. And it's paying dearly for them right now.
Yikes. I'm just taking a little bit of a breather to assess the situation. And it does seem that when RMU does stay together, when they're all grouped up on the same page, it's going to be very difficult for GVSU to deal with them. Just because you can't just send a Katarina in willy-nilly. Someone's going to save an exhaust, save a crowd control spell for her in those situations. But RMU is really kind of playing into GVSU's hand by either walking into these narrow quarters, getting caught off one by one, or even in situations like this, you can see just nothing being devoted to stopping GVSU from just walking top line, taking a turret, and even though RMU are pushing up the mid lane, now they just risk it getting rotated on, although they do have wards to see that coming.
And particularly in the way that some of these fights have been played, and some of the fights that they've picked, RMU didn't seem to be anticipating having a rough time this game. They were playing very aggressively, even over-aggressively at points, and it seems like they may have underestimated their opponents. And Grand Valley are more than willing to take advantage of that. We've got another fight potentially breaking out in the mid lane. Now, Pomi will be able to shift away from the resonating strike that will continue.
Keeping an eye on what is to be expected. At least from right now, I would expect maybe a flank or attempted engage there by West Coast Carry, and then follow up looking for a big shockwave, see what Bipings can do here. I mean, for RMU, you definitely expect a little bit more solid, hey, I know what to do now kind of attitude. But instead, kind of backing off and slowing down the pace at which this game is going is definitely moving exactly as fast as GVSU wanted it to.
RMU, though, are still set up compositionally to be able to come back into this game, but really, I don't think they anticipated being in a position where that was what they had to do. As a two-man shockwave turns into a one-man shockwave with a Shunpo from QXQ, but it's still a kill onto the Lulu. QXQ trying to chase down a kill here on the Bipings. Noobs are us is going to be teleporting on into the fight. QXQ buying some more time with that Zhonya's, buying enough time, it seems, to not only get out of this alive, but also claim another kill. Maybe I spoke too soon, though, diving into the turret. May have made me a liar. There's M Nasty chasing after Mordia with that Blade of the Ruined King. Schnell Run flanking from the jungle, the West Coast Carry showing up to join the fray. Gets kicked backwards, and it will be just a few kills traded here and there. However, still going rather nicely for GVSU.
I mean, trading kills always good for the Katarina player, because the further you're getting ahead, maybe there's a player on the enemy team who didn't get as far ahead, and they're just going to be weaker, able for you to deal more damage. And now with 3, really 4, if you want to count those Mercury Treads items completed for QXQ, I mean, we're starting to get to the danger zone where one mistake means losing, 2, 3, 4 members of your team to these Katarina resets.
Lulu getting chased down through the jungle here, but does have Schnell Run to help him out. Schnell Run going dangerously low himself, though. West Coast Carry is something of a powerhouse right now with that triple item core: Phantom Dancer, Black Cleaver, and word is not coming to mind.
Titanic Hydra.
Apologies. But that will secure the Dragon for RMU, who are still kicking in this game, but certainly not as powerfully as they were earlier.
Nope. I mean, only 1,000 gold separates both of these teams. So you don't want to really say, oh, well, RMU are super far behind. No, they're actually in a great position because it is only a team compositional advantage for GVSU. If they play their team comp better, then they crush the team fight. They don't just win by a little bit because QXQ really, really has the potential to take matters into its own hands. Be interesting to see how this top lane matchup works too. It's not just going to be two super tanks wailing on each other. It's a really good opportunity for West Coast Carry to find a big advantage. Big shockwave
was amazing, but Bipinks may still be going down as the Lulu ulti knocks him up in the air, and Schnell Run gets himself a killing spree. And GVSU just need to hunt down a few more kills here to be able to start claiming some real gold leads for themselves. And as West Coast Carry is going to get chased away, and this fight is starting to look mighty split up for the side of RMU, running towards enemy territory. Pomi and Evan RL try and at least lead the enemy team on a wild goose chase, but that's all it's going to be. And in the end, the goose does eventually get cooked.
Yep, boom goes the dynamite, exploding the RMU duo lane. Palmy and Evan RL getting taken out there, and Bipinks, nice shockwave, but just did not have the team members that he need. It had that support staff, not just IRL like RMU do, but in-game as well. And another big win there, now 20-12. It feels like Octavian, we've seen RMU lose tiny fight by tiny fight, but those fights are starting to add up.
Yeah, and that was certainly one of the bigger ones there, as they were caught split up quite a bit running down through that river, starting, of course, with that pick onto Bipinks. And as you said, they had some solid potential turnarounds during that fight. I mean, a three-man shockwave, that is a great thing to have in any team fight, but they simply were just too split up to be able to make use of it. And GVSU seem to have flipped some sort of switch. They are never caught off guard anymore. This mid to now approaching late game has been really, really clean for them.
Well, for RMU, it's not like they don't have the opportunities or the ability to come back into this. They have certainly proven over and over in their undefeated season that they have what it takes to win. But sometimes I enjoy seeing teams play from behind more than I enjoy them seeing just stomp through and get a huge lead. Because I think it says more about the quality, the caliber of your team to be able to play at a disadvantage than it does to just get an advantage and be like, oh well, okay, all of our champions are stronger than all of theirs. We're just gonna win now. I'm like, okay, well, yes, just about any team can take that one home. But playing from this disadvantage really going to show whether or not RMU have the ability to not just win games where they're favored, but to come back from these difficult spots.
RMU certainly have the onus on them to do that this game. They are at a considerable disadvantage, which is not something that perhaps we anticipated saying coming into this match. We've hit on it a few times now, but RMU is the #1 seed. Admittedly, they've had a few roster changes pretty recently, and that may have had something to do with them to some degree falling off the wagon here. Never good to have roster changes during the playoffs, but it's something that happens in the amateur scene quite frequently. Even in the professional scene, you see players swap around all the time, and the team has to deal with that. Schnell Run down below half health is just going to safeguard back out of an attempted engage. And we've got RMU still fighting pretty well for vision here, but definitely not the powerhouse they were anticipating being.
Certainly not. I mean, they're keeping the pressure on, keeping the goal difference close. No matter what the big numbers say up there, the bigger in amount numbers is definitely what matters more. And if you want to check the relative gold values to get some comparative consideration there, about 1,500 gold advantage in the top lane for West Coast Carry, about even in the jungle. Mid lane, though, 1,000 gold, or almost 1,000 gold advantage there for QXQ, but duo is where you start to see the big differences start to form. M Nasty, about 3,000 gold ahead of his 80 carry counterpart, up 50 CS and that kill. That is going to be a big source of damage here. Persistent physical damage over the course of these fights for GVSU, who also have that Katarina as a big champion to worry about.
Yeah, the composition for GVSU certainly proving strong, and What do you think RMU changes going into Game 2 with the draft? Do we see a Katarina ban, maybe, for QXQ? The guy has performed brilliantly on it. It's been a cornerstone of the comp here for GV. I wouldn't be terribly surprised, but Mordio maybe caught out in the jungle here as Chanel Run's going to chase him off. They do manage to at least pull an ulti. Meanwhile, down bottom lane, Shen doing some good work, taking out a secondary turret. And while action doesn't quite explosively pop off, that's still a steady advantage for GVSU.
Yeah, it's certainly close enough. I mean, Noobs R Us being able to just walk up to the turret, take it down, and still remain deathless, by the way, Octavian. He is doing all of this while not dying. Very, very impressive from the solo laner. And still able to secure these advantages little by little. GVSU finding kills, finding turrets, and just chipping away at this map. Getting into a better and better position. Now West Coast Carry looking for that engage opportunity. Here he goes.
Later to the trigger, he's going to be finding Noobs R Us as his target, which may not have been the most ideal target choice. West Coast Carry having to flash out of the fight. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shen doing just fine, taking up the enemy team. QXQ going to be looking for that opportunity and potentially finding it. By Pinks will go down as Pony is easy prey right there after. And I feel like RMU was just a little bit too late to pull the trigger on that fight. West Coast Carry had a better line into it a few moments before he ulted, but they were hesitant. That's the first time I've seen them hesitant this game.
Gotta give maybe a little bit of posthumous credit to West Coast Carry for diving in, getting his team the sole kill of that team fight. But you're seeing things work well for RMU. They're just not in as the good position that they need to be. By Pinks lands these 6 shockwaves. Uh-oh. They don't deal enough damage because he doesn't have the items, and he doesn't also have the team to capitalize on it. And really just over and over again, it's guys like Mordio getting a little bit caught out. West Coast Carry not finding the engagements or the support that he needs. And great team fighting there. GVSU come out on top and will find their second Baron of the game.
And Mordio realizing there's just absolutely no way he gets anywhere near this Baron pit. And 2 Barons, a 24-13 kill lead, and 6k gold. That is such a better outlook than what we anticipated going into this game for GVSU, who have an equally perfect record, technically speaking, to RMU, even if they weren't in as challenging a bracket starting off. But it seems like maybe that perfect record isn't that deceptive, because these guys are clean right now.
They certainly are, Octavian. Elder Drake is a big opportunity to come back for RMU if they are able to either steal this over the side or find a good team fight off of it. I mean, Elder Drake will help them a lot in terms of evening up the way that this game is going. Now, dropping down to half HP, can they find the angle that they need?
All eyes on QXQ for this fight when it does break out. Redemption coming down, a good bit of health back to the side of the side of GVSU, as Shen actually manages to bring down the jungler, so there's no possibility of a Dragon Steal anymore. A Shockwave not going to be pulling the damage it needs to, and GVSU is just so durable now. They're going to keep chasing kills down. QXQ still yet to pop the ulti, is dancing around the edges of this fight as it continues. M Nasty is godlike, he claims a double kill. And I said all eyes on the Katarina, but maybe a few should have been pointed towards that Lucian. And Pommy. Point and click. Pix is feeling a bit murderous today.
Yeah, gonna be able to secure the ace in the end, and this will most likely mean the first inhibitor of the game. Yeah, RMU losing the fight. That's going to lead GVSU straight into their base to take this inhibitor down.
I mean, at least one Nexus turret falls here. We've still got Death Timers on 4 members of RMU. And they've got M Nasty here, the member of the team that's going to chunk turrets down incredibly quickly, especially with that double tap Lucian passive. Both Nexus turrets are down. This is a disaster even if the game doesn't end, and indeed it will. 50 gold for the completion going to Noobs R Us, the guy with the perfect game. And we've got a 1-0 lead to GVSU in this best of 3 series.
Oh my goodness, Octavia and GVSU really neck and neck for a long time, and at times behind. RMU definitely capable of finding those advantages top lane specifically, West Coast carry doing his job, but I guess for me, the real discrepancy was in the mid and jungle synergy. Schnell Run living up to both of his names, which both mean the same thing, but running all over the map and not just helping himself, but helping the rest of his team get ahead. QXQ popping off early on, and M Nasty ends the game with the largest gold discrepancy, cresting just over 4,000 gold over his AD carry lane opponent. So really congratulations there to GVSU, who go up one game in our best of 3 series, and that will head us into a quick commercial break. So thanks for watching, everyone. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Game number
Only
2.
$14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.